What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, my guy?
What up, killer? What up, man? Promise
Hey
you I'm
man,
safe, hands free. So this is safe right now.
hey man. You know we're going. This is the one that's gonna get comments. You're gonna outrage some people. Why he driving in on the podcast at the same time?
Listen, I'm on an important mission, man. That's all they need to know. Important mission.
Hey, remember we do this for y'all. This man is making a sacrifice on the road. You know what I mean? This is how much we care about putting out entertainment, putting out information, and this episode will be nothing short of that. You
Yes.
know, we always use the same term when we have a guest come on multiple times. It's a repeat offender. Apparently, they
Right.
like us enough to come back around. So we have a very special guest in honor of the 20th year anniversary of the Yorton Cup. We had to, kind of use our connections, Um, and I got a really good question for him to start. But use our connections to get him back on and talk to us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Mr. Sean Sully Sullivan to the stage. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
What's up, champions? How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Another day in paradise.
Hey, man, it is. It is. Every day is a day in paradise.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I was about to say, I had something just come up into my head, and I know we said we won't throw you any curveballs, but we need to set the stage and clear the air, Sully.
Talk to me.
So people think that me and Jamal work for the OCB. Like they
Oh,
ask us questions like, "Hey, I registered for this show. How do I get my money back? Like, can you message this person?" I was like, "We just have good relation. Like we've been in the sport. We judge. We work behind the scenes and we help out. Like I think we network well. To be able to know you by first name basis or know you personally." But please let people know we do not work for the OCB.
yes, people, as wonderful as they are, as knowledgeable as they do not work for the OCB. So let's clear the air there. Great that you can ask them a question, but if anything comes up and anything OCB related, please reach out to one of the leadership team members, either myself or Marjorie, Chad or Frank, and we'll be glad to answer your questions.
Good, good. Because I can't. If I had $1 for every time somebody messaged me and thought that, hey man, I registered for this show, or why do y'all do this? And I was like, oh wait a minute. But let's get into the episode. Of course, I mentioned that you will be. I know you guys kind of co-promote, but you are the head promoter for the Yorton Cup.
Yeah.
And I think the first question I have is, for the people who don't know, what makes the Yorton Cup so significant? Like a lot of people, we know about the Yorton Cup, we know the history, but what makes it so significant from your standpoint?
I'm going to go into a little bit of history and then a little bit of. So when Matt was struggling with what would you want to call a marquee title, I remember we had a lot of dialogue about it had to be something meaningful. It had to be something that represented natural bodybuilding. It had to be something that would draw people in. Everybody has a universe or a worlds or a nationals or a this or a that or whatever. So the title had to be something meaningful. And for him to make it meaningful, it had to tie into the history of natural bodybuilding. And we were kicking names around or whatever. And I had mentioned Chet to him. And he was like, oh yeah, Chet. I know a little bit about him, but not a lot. Now, what I remembered about Chet is that he was a natural guy. He was the first one to promote natural events. And he is one of the few competitors who have ever beaten Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Matt was aware of that, but he was kind of like, let's see what this works. The more he researched Chet and the more that he looked at his legacy and who he was as a person, the values that he had, the integrity as a human being he came back to me and he was like, this is the guy, because it symbolizes everything that I would like a title to represent in natural bodybuilding. A championship physique, but somebody who's not just a phrase I use all the time, a beautifully wrapped empty box. Somebody who has integrity, somebody who had values, somebody who, had gumption and fortitude and was willing to totally walk away from the sport, of bodybuilding as it was back then to make a statement about where things were with PEDs and the things that were happening and all of that. And that was like, this is a perfect representation of what I would like a title to represent. So that was the first. The history kind of ties into it, and it makes it meaningful. The reason it was a cup is because Matt was an avid hockey fan. So whatever the main title was, it had to be a cup, and he wanted the cup to have a legacy. This is why if the Stanley Cup, every winner of the Stanley Cup is on the Stanley Cup. It gets handed around or whatever. And this is why, as you both know, 3 Yorton Cups and possibly counting, but 3 between the two of you, you know that the cup doesn't go anywhere. You guys receive a cup, but the cup, your names are put on it for prosperity's sake. So you have that legacy, you have that tie into history. There's some historical relevance to it. The other thing he wanted to do is to make sure that wherever that event went and whatever it was about, it encompassed the culture that he was trying to create in the OCB. And, we tell competitors this all the time, it's a smorgasbord out there. It's like restaurants, come on over and eat here at Cheesecake Factory, but go check out Applebee's and check out, TGIF's. They all have great menu items. Everybody's got their own greatness. We're not trying to take that away from anybody, but we have kind of a unique culture, and that had to be maintained no matter what happened with the title. And then the production value always had to be high. It had to have the right stage. It had to have the right lighting. It had to have the right backdrop. It had to have the right everything. And those were the tenets. That was the foundation. So now you bump up 20 years. Why is the Yorton Cup where it is? Because of you all. Because of you. You, the champions. Because of the promoters who promote great regional, state, other events that draw competitors in. Because of the fantastic judges that we have. Because of our volunteers. It ain't about us, bro. It's about you guys. You, the athletes. You, the people that are involved in the OCB, you created this. This is your show. I'm just babysitting it for a year. It just happens to be the 20th because it has a lot of relevance and meaning to me because I was there at ground zero year 1. And now fast forward 20 years later. So that's why it's significant to me. But it is what it is because of the athletes and because of the promoters and because of the people that work within the OCB, not as paid employees, but work, to try to make it what it is. That is why it's where it's at. Not because of me or my teammates or a bunch of talking heads. It's not about us. It's about you guys. So you guys created this, not me.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just stay here with it. So does Chet family still have any ties with the OCB? Will we see them at the 20th year anniversary this year?
Probably not. Chet's daughter Shannon owns. She was the one who developed Quest and Legacy and all of that. They do turn around and donate a little bit towards the prize money, which actually goes towards the cost of the awards and the trophies, and we put that in there. That's why we have this year's medal is. I got to say it's badass, man. It is badass. The 3D raised sculpture, 3 different metal overlay. It is gorgeous, and it's kind of like a 2-way street. We do that for Shannon because we always want to make sure that the medal has Chet's likeness on it, and that it's always better. It's always more impactful. It's always beautiful, and it always pays tribute to the man's legacy. And so we do have a relationship with that, and they donate a lot of products. So when you come in and you guys get your swag bags this year, they're going to be pretty good swag bags. I got some surprises in there for y'all. Besides your usual hoodie, t-shirt, patches, food, goodies, bag, all that stuff. There's a surprise in there that you guys can talk about after the cup when you get them, because I think you're both going to be impressed and you're going to be showing that off on a future episode. So that helps with things like that. But the actual funding of the show and everything else comes from us. It comes out of our pockets.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and I think they have ties with Legendary Food too, right?
Legendary. That's yeah. Did I say legacy? I meant Legendary. Legendary Foods. Yeah, Legendary Foods is their thing. And I'll tell you right now, a plug on for Legendary Foods. I have become obsessed with their Pop-Tarts. I've been eating one a day.
Yeah, the Pop-Tarts and the cinnamon rolls are pretty good.
Oh, those two. I got to hand it to them. Yeah, Shannon came up with a great concept, and their products are pretty good. I don't plug anybody's product. You know me. I don't really guide anybody towards anything, but I will say that if you're ever on the fly, or if you ever need anything that is clean, that tastes good, yeah, I love some of their products.
Hey, Shannon, I know we're not on a first name basis, but you have two athletes who host a podcast that potentially, can really get down with some quest and legendary food. Just saying. We'll raise our hands proudly. But you spoke on a lot in that statement, and I think a lot of people see, I think, of course, you're also a podcast host of what is it, Natural Edge.
Yeah.
And people see that you talk to a multitude of athletes. You're super friendly. So how, I guess the way I go about this is, you said that, the judges, the staff, the athletes make the Yorton. So let's get into details. Like, of course, not name dropping, but what kind of testing and what goes into you selecting the judges for the biggest show, where the big money's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process of selecting these specific judges?
It was an evolutionary process. We've tried different things, but you guys being judges, you know that every time you judge, the promoter sends me the tabulation sheet, and I look at the judges, and they're graded based on their accuracy of scoring to what the final result was. So in the past, I required a minimum of 3 shows judged for a year with an 85% or better. And what I noticed is that I wasn't deep diving deep enough. Now, that's the one thing I will say about a federation, about the OCB. We don't have the answers. We are in constant OJT. We are constantly revising and trying to improve our process. Everything is continuous process improvement. This is what happens when you have 4 cats working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week in the organization. So I looked at some things I saw in previous Yorton Cups, and I went, where's our disconnect? And then I realized I wasn't factoring in the quality or the size of the show when I was selecting judges. There's difference between being a judge that is consistently getting an 85 to 90% in shows that have 45 or 50 people, which is turning into our average size OCB events. Most of them, I mean, you go around, you see our shows, a lot of them are topping 100. So I looked at that and I went, that's what I'm going to look at now. So now what I look for our judges is it's judges that have had to have judged a minimum of 2 pro shows, and they have to have judged a minimum of 8 OCB events, and they must have maintained a 90% or better. I think that becomes a better standard. The other thing we did is, in the past, I had said, I'm not going to let the same judges come back 2 years in a row. I decided to alleviate that because when I've looked at judges in the past, there's no judging biases there. I mean, I look at scores, and if something didn't look right to me in a score and I went back and I talked to a judge, it was never a bias. It was never against anybody. It became a comprehension. As you know, at the highest levels, differentiating a physique gets more and more and more and more difficult. It's easier to apply the criteria correctly and differentiate a physique in a class of 4 or 5 competitors that are just starting out because you know the level. But when you get into the Yorton Cup, those nuances are so minute that you need to have an expert level of differentiation on those. Because we don't want to have, people going back and second guessing and going, oh crap, I probably should have gone 11. We want a judging panel to turn around and go, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And this is why I say consistently, judging in the OCB is not subjective. There's no subjectivity. It's objective. The objective of the game is to fully understand the criteria and apply it to 100% of your ability. But what I learned over the last couple of years is it's easier to apply in some shows based on the competition level than at other shows. So I started looking only at judges that had hit that elite status, that were judging pro shows, and that were nailing it. That is what we looked for this year. And that's the judging panel we have. Every judge on there has judged a multitude of pro shows. I don't think that there's a judge on this panel that hasn't judged at least 4 pro shows in the last 2 or 3 years from around the country. That's the other thing we look at is I don't want to target a specific geographic area. I don't want all the judges to come from Virginia, and I don't want all the judges to come from Arizona. But we have judges coming from the West, the Midwest, the East, and the South, the best of the best. So that's how we did it this year. And I think the judging has been pretty good at the Yorton Cup for the last several years. But I'm a perfectionist, man. You know me, I invest my heart and soul into this judging program. I want only perfection. And will we ever reach it? I don't know. But as long as the judges absolutely positively understand the criteria down to the nuances of the best physiques in the world, because it's what you get on the Yorton Cup stage, and they're able to differentiate it, that's what I want.
Absolutely. And you spoke on a lot right there, Sully, and I have to agree with you. I think certain judges ain't used to seeing 10 or 15 quality bodies on stage. And when they do, they just get confused and they don't know what to do. So I'm glad you spoke on that, because that's that is so true. So true.
It goes into continuous process improvement. After every show, major event like that, I do what's called a root cause analysis. I know I'm using these big terms. This is just all skills that I learned from the military. In the military, you do an operation, things go bad, things go good. What you always want to do is go to the root cause of what went wrong so you can correct it at the most basic level. It's very, very time consuming. I end up sometimes with sticky notes all over my computer and this and that, the square root of pi or whatever. But it does get you down to what is the factor. And you got to correct the factor. You got to correct it at the root cause. You can't just keep fluffing the top. You got to do a root cause analysis and go down to the root. So yeah, we get these good ideas like we had last year, the different geographical areas, not judging 2 in a row. You have to have an 85% or better. Now, how do we make that even better? The level of judging that you had. What is your experience level? All your shows were over 100, 150 competitors, and 8 of them were pro shows, and you nailed that. Welcome to the Yorton Cup.
Absolutely. Since we're talking about judging, we spoke on this last time you were on our podcast, the call outs. So can you please explain to the people how the call outs are supposed to work this year, and if you're still moving forward with the call outs this year?
Absolutely. So things we will learn from last year. Last year was kind of on the fly, and Jamal, you're a perfect example of this because we didn't do it until we got to classic physique. Okay. And then we didn't do it for other categories because classic physique, you guys brought your A games and it was nuts on how to do it. And so I was kind of like working with a system that was kind of being invented in my head at the same time. I managed to perfect it at some other shows I judged during the year. And so basically the way it's going to work is twofold. One thing that happened last year is that some of the categories were so odd. Like, let's take bikini. Bikini, we had class A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. That's a lot of classes. You can't bring a top 3 out for that because it's 24 people on stage. That's ridiculous. So we just brought the winners out. That doesn't necessarily give you the best top 3 overall, because what if the best 3 competitors are in the same class? So now we've developed a system. So I'm going to talk about that first and then do the call outs. So the system is the top 3 in each class are going to advance to the next round. We're going to have no more than 9 people on stage to get to the weed out. So I'm going to call it a weed out for lack of a better terminology. So let's say we have A, B, C, D, F, G, all those classes again. Class A, B, and C, top 3, before we go to class D, will come out and be compared for the top 3 overall out of those 3 classes. Then we'll move into the next 3 classes. And then the top 3 overall will be decided out of those 3 classes. So now we have 6 going to the final. And then we'll do the final 3 classes, get to those top 3, and now we have a top 9 overall. So that's how we're going to handle the big classes. And I mean, right now, I'm not going to throw numbers out, but last year, what we had in bikini, right now at 5 weeks out, we are on pace to probably be 30 or 40 competitors over what we had last year. So the classes are going to be even bigger. There's even more of everybody. So we're going to have more classes. So it has to be fair. So that's how we're going to do the weeding out. So if there's like, 15 classes, then we're going to do them 3 at a time and then find a top 3 out of that group and then the top 3 out of the next group. So you can see what I'm saying. We're going to tier it up. So you're always battling for a top 3 to get to the top 3 overall. So you might get out and get compared. Let's say you're class A. I feel bad for the class A people because let's say you're class A, you're going to go out and you're going to win your class. And then you're going to battle for a top 3 in your ABC and let you get that. And then you're going to have to wait and battle for the overall. So you're going to battle 2 different times. You're not going to go back out with, the CDE people or whatever. Once we have the top 3 of ABC, you top 3 hang out back, chill, and then we go DEF, you guys chill. And then we keep going down the line. We'll do the same thing. So like I predict for men's physique, I'm talking to you now, Eric, because that's your category. I'm predicting right now a minimum of 4, if not 6 classes. That means that if there's 4, we'll go AB, top 3 of each, battle it out for a top 3. And then we'll go CD, top 3, battle it out for a top 3. And then those 6 will battle out for the overall. Jamal, you're on pace for that right now. 4, if not 6 classes in classic physique. We'll do the same thing. So that's how we're going to battle it out. Now we're going to talk about the callbacks. What's going to happen when we go to differentiate that is when you have 9 people on stage, what always happens, and you guys know from judging, people end up in the wings. It gets hard. It gets messy. It gets confusing. It's a blur. So we have 3 different head judges we're going to use because not everybody's head judging the whole show. We have head judges based on segment and by number of athletes they're going to head judge because you got to keep your head judges fresh because they're going to burn out pretty quick too. Your head judges burn out, they're losing the tone. So what they'll do is they'll bring the top 9 out. They'll do a symmetry round, quarter turns. And then what the judges are going to do is just do a cursory observation along with the head judge. And then everybody's going to fade. And then we're going to start bringing groups out in 3 for quarter turns, a couple of poses, boom. 3, boom, 3, boom. Where you are in those 3, you're not going to know. Because one of the things I'm instructing the head judges to do is don't just focus on who won 3 classes and who those top 3 are. I'm going to be bringing out a class winner with possibly somebody who came in 3rd in another class because I need the differentiation to break down to the point where the top 3 rise to the top, not just the perceived top 3 because they won a class. Because as you guys know, you can come in runner-up in your class because you're slightly off. And then all that flexing you did, you come on strong. And then if the next time they bring you out, if the judges are going back and going, I got to focus on these 3 cats or these 2 cats because they won their class, you could be missing the boat because the best athlete may have improved and they're going to get overlooked. This is going to prevent anybody from being overlooked. So just if you were 3rd in your call out of your group of 9, and your physique improves and your pop improves and everything improves and you get to that level, you could theoretically win the show being 3rd in a class. I don't know if that's likely, but the goal is by doing this to make sure you arrive at the absolute perfect top 3. So that's the way we're running it this year. A lot of work is going to be involved. I have a Zoom meeting set up with the judging staff. We're going to be running drills on this and making sure that they get it down. And by the time it goes into implementation, it should be flawless.
Perfect. And I think that's the one thing that I speak for myself. I don't want to speak for Jamal, but I'm pretty sure he feels the same sentiment of the evolution, right? Like listening to the athletes and trying to evolve and move with the athletes. Because we can speak all day on that we can do it our way and this is our way and there's no other way. Or you can, kind of listen to the athletes and get the buy-in from them. And I know I greatly appreciate this because, of course, as a judge, speaking from a judge perspective, I don't want to judge top physiques. I rather judge it in a smaller sample size so then that way I can literally get down to, hey, what is this person weak at or what is this person strong at? That doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing it, But then I think the other side of that was it was more entertaining to watch the classic guys when you see them out there in a smaller sample size, and you're like, oh man. And even from a spectator standpoint, it draws more eyes because now they can focus in. Like you put non-great looking guys in front of, people who don't really know nothing about the sport. They don't know what they're looking for. So when you put them in a smaller sample size, I think they're able to dial it in more and say, hey, you know what? I can actually try to judge this myself, because we all unintentionally judge the show when we're at it. But that's great, because my next question is, you're talking about how you improved the judging. You talked about how the goodie bags and stuff like that will be, great. So what else, if you can give us, as a promoter, have you done for the Yorton this year to make it, I don't want to say better than the last, but improved from the last?
There's going to be some stage tweaks. So stage design is going to be nicer. Like I said, that award, that medal, it is, let me put it this way. If I could re-enter a Yorton Cup just to try to win something, I would want one of these medals. I feel sorry for our secret sauce medal maker. We have somebody that we use who helps us design these things. The number of revisions, I mean, I sent this damn thing back 25 times. And then my teammates, when they got involved with feedback, they sent it back like 8 times. I mean, this thing was back. This poor guy, I think, was bald and gray by the time he got done. And he had a beautiful coif of hair, and he's 35, 40 years old. So, yeah. So that's something that we really put into it. Also, the way that we've organized our staff and the flow, to make the flow better, to make the communication better, to make all of that better. We started looking at, like, what are the little things that we can do to improve this? Commentary from the head judge as things are going on, trying to improve the viewer experience for the people on the live stream with being able to pull some stuff out on that. Like I said, the quality of the awards, the quality of the swag bags, the level of communication, the number of staff members to guide, assist, and direct people to where they need to be, and having the right mentality, having better sound, allowing the pros to have a little bit more time on stage, even though it's a giant show. If you remember a couple of years ago, I think it was the year you guys both won. It was the first year we topped 200 athletes, and we had to cut down those routines to you just walk out and say hi and walk off, and we hated that. And then last year we added a little bit more to it. We want to add a little bit more to that too, because there should be a little bit more flavor for you as an individual to highlight yourself. We want to take that away. At the same time, we don't want to be there till midnight with 300 athletes each day. But at the same time, we need to give you guys a little bit more respect on that end as well. I do wish that we could have the best music in the world, but as you know, when we live stream and where it's going on live stream, the wrong song is going to shut the entire works down. So we do still have to use the royalty-free music, so it doesn't impact the live stream. So those are the things that we're looking at. Also, when you come into check-ins, you're going to see a much improved flow, and there's also there's some more surprises at the check-in too. So when you check in, I think that when you're a pro athlete, your check-in should be just as an amazing experience as when you get to the show and you go on stage, and the way that you're made to feel after. So all of that synergistically went in to polish it even more. So I think that we have done a great job of having a good venue in a good location with good lighting. I generally hesitate to use the great word, because great means you can't top it. You should always strive for greatness, but as long as you are in the goodness realm. So I think all of that was good. So I didn't think anything needed a total rehaul, other than the special little things that come to the competitors. Swag, awards, communication, flow of the show, check-in, music, time on stage, having the call-outs, having the best top 3, the athlete experience, making that experience better. Because if I work on the stage and I make the stage look beautiful, I'm patting myself on the back and I made it about me. If I make your experience better from the time you walk in the door to the time you walk off and walk out to the side and get your donut and your cookie, hint, hint, then it's going to be a gooder time for you. And yes, I use the word gooder because I'm going to break that into the zeitgeist. The OCB is going to be gooder.
So you talked about check-ins, and that was one of my complaints last year. Of course, the female check-ins was on Friday, and they had all the bells and whistles, interviews, whatever else. Then when the men got there on Saturday, it was like a ghost town because, of course, the women was competing, and most of the staff and everything was at the Yorton Cup watching. Is that going to be different this year?
It's going to be different in the respect that we're not going to have anybody there to record any check-ins. What we're going to do is we're going to have things that you can QR codes that you can screenshot to get you on to do your own live, your own check-in. All that stuff would carry over. We are going to have somebody there that, you know, have a cell phone that is going to be recording some stuff and doing it. But we didn't, the team that we have coming in to do all the reels and all that stuff, all that fancy, you know, stuff that we do, all the athlete videos, all the athlete highlights, all that athlete stuff that we have going on, they can't be in two places at once. And they need to have their staff there on show day. So I nixed that because it wasn't fair to have it for one group and not for the other group. But there are other things that's going to happen in the athlete check-in that's going to make it better. So what we want to encourage you all to do, the way that the setup is going to be, is to be recording and putting your own lives out and adding it all in and dropping it. And then you're going to have a little QR code of where to get it to drop it. And we just got some things going on when it comes to that social media thing, where there's going to be a centralized location. We're trying to put all the files together and drop immediately because we want that stuff dropped immediately. The other thing we didn't like about the check-in things is when you do video stuff like that, it's not immediate. It's not like when you guys arrive, because you guys are probably going to arrive together or close to the same time because I know your teammates, your friends, or whatever. But when you guys arrive, you guys can be sitting there living each other at the same time and doing that, and it's going to go out like that. And that's right there. If we have our production team do it, they're going to record stuff, and then 4, 5, 6 days later, it's going to appear. Not a lot of value in that. It needs to be instantaneous. So we have a way to have the athletes, when they're doing their own zing, 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 boom, dropping it in their feed, you know, tag the OCB thing, you know, screenshot this QR code to do this, boom. You do 2 little clicks of a button, and it's going to be instantaneous. It's going to be about you and your feelings about what's going on, because we want you guys to talk about what you think. We don't want to have, you know, one of our people recording you and picking and choosing whose voice gets heard on the check-ins. We want to hear everybody. I mean, in a perfect world for me, I would turn around and go to bed on Friday night and then again on Saturday night and have 150 people checking in with little 20 or 30-second videos that I could watch the whole way through. That would be the highlight of my night. But that's what we want to see. So.
Okay. We're all about equality too. So next year, I don't know your plans. I don't know if it's still going to be in Charlotte, but could we see a possible switch where the males are on a Saturday and the females are on a Sunday?
It's going to base a lot on numbers and on size of the show. So the reason that it happened the way it did is because we were disproportionately higher with female competitors than male competitors. So we had to look at the days. I don't care if I'm there till 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and a Sunday, but competitors on a Sunday who have to be to work on Monday care about that. So that had to get factored in. But here's the interesting thing that we're finding out across the sport. Our numbers have grown this year huge. And I think you've seen it around shows too. Our female competitors are still here, but our male competitors used to be here. They're now creeping up. A lot of our shows are now going from 70-30 or 60-40 to about 50-50. That makes it logical that we could do something like that, Jamal. 180 female competitors and 90 male competitors, and you're looking at how do we balance that out over the 2 days so that competitors have the opportunity to get home and get ready for work Monday. That was what got factored into that. But when we reach a point where we have 300 competitors, it's 150 guys and 150 girls. Very simple process of rotating it. Hey, guess what? This year it's girls Sunday and guys Saturday, and the next year it's gonna flip flop, because it's just a trend I've noticed in the OCB. It's starting to balance more, which is great to see. And it's not like we're losing any of our female competitors. It's just more guys are competing again, which is great to see, especially in bodybuilding, classic physique and men's physique. You guys always had the numbers. Your numbers aren't going down. But I'm really seeing that surge now that more guys are getting on stage and competing.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to go into, I guess, my final question and ask you, because we always want to end on I mean, the whole interview is positive, a lot of information given, but what would you say I want to deliver a promoter message, a message coming directly from you to all the athletes who will watch this, who are going to compete, that's going to set that record. We're going to speak it into existence, set that record number for the 20th year. We need a promoter message from the man himself.
So the promoter message to the athletes, or do you want me to send a message to our promoters?
More so to the athletes, whether it's encouraging, whether what they're about to get themselves into.
Hey, our athletes are our lifeblood. We don't do the Yorton Cup as a financial venture. If you only knew how deep in the red we are every year at the end of the day, it's amazing. And we want to have a show that is our give back to your all sacrifices. We can only have one champion. We only have 3 checks that we write out to the top 3. But if we can invest and show appreciation and show our love for you, for your commitment to get on that stage, this is why we are trying to create the Yorton Cup as not a competition, but as an event. And I say this to athletes all the time. Brand new pro card winners come to the Yorton Cup and they're like, well, I'm not good enough to win. No, but you're good enough to be there. And that's what counts. And come in and go through it and get the experience. Because it's like back in the day with the Mr. Olympia competitors, I remember seeing interviews as a kid growing up with Mr. Olympia competitors like Mike Grant. People probably don't even know who Michael Grant was, but he was a great competitor. He was in pumping iron. He had a flash where they just showed him for 2 seconds. But I remember interviews with him like, why did you go to the Mr. Olympia? He's like, it's the Mr. Olympia. I didn't go to win. I went to go to the Mr. Olympia. And it's because of the prestige. It's because of the way that the athletes were treated back then. And that's the same thing we want to do now. We want to bring the athletes in and give them an experience. We want to give them great swag. We want to make them feel appreciated. We want to give them goodies and treats backstage. We want them to feel the same way they make us feel for being there. I mean, everything is done for y'all. I said it at the beginning. This ain't our show. This is your show. We tried to create this for you. And this is why we continue to invest big money in it. This is why we continue to try to process and improve it. This is why we continuously try to make it better. Because I could make a beautiful stage and have a medal and all these trophies and make it about me and show it off as, look what I did. That's what it's about. And that's not what my teammates are about. It's about you all. So we want to make sure that all of you have the best possible experience. So if you're out there, and right now registrations are still open, you got 4 more weeks to enter. Come join 200 of your friends who have already joined. And, thinking about that, we still have 3 pro shows to qualify athletes. And a lot of athletes are going into each one of those pro shows, have 50 or more pros already entered. So there's some big ass pro shows, and those people are coming in. And then we have all these people that are just getting ready to earn their pro cards. Come on, enjoy the experience. Win, lose, or draw, you're going to have the time of your life. And, you guys have been there. I mean, how many Yorton Cups have you guys done between the 2 of you? I mean, how many of you competed in, Eric?
19, 21, 22, 23. And no, I did 17. I think 17 was my first one, so I think I did 5.
And Jamal, you've done 4 or 3?
This year would be my fourth.
4th. So between y'all, I mean, you know, what keeps bringing you back? Are you coming back just to be the Yorton Cup champion?
Hey,
Or is
Sully,
it
to
the
be honest, I'm coming back to prove a point. That's why I'm coming back. I can't speak on air. I know I'm coming back this year.
uh,
Nah, like honestly, like you spoke about it. Some of the staff is great. I love some of the staff, so that's why I come back also for sure.
yeah.
I think, like you said, kind of the experience. I mean, winning is also fun, and I also placed the runner up twice. So my experience always been great at the Yorton. Win, lose, or draw. Even my first one when I placed 7th, placing my very first one. I always had a great experience, and I think even what you said about the athletes, I still have the picture from the 2017 Yorton of all the men's physique guys in my class in the back. Some OGs from back in the day, and then even some newer guys that's still competing with me now. I think I still remember those memories. So the experience overall and the memories that you make at the Yorton, like we talk about the 2023 Yorton when me, Magnum, and Jamal ended up, taking photos right after. Like those are memories you're gonna have forever. So I think it's mostly, like you said, the experience. And I tell guys the same thing. Like I don't tell everyone to go to the Yorton, but I do encourage people to put themselves out there and try it, because you never really know how you're going to stack up. And you also never know if you're going to qualify again. Because as the numbers increasingly get higher, those qualifications are going to have to crack down a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we eventually have to look at as, like where do we cap it? Like when does it get too crazy? And we are going to have to hit a point where we're going to have to say that, this is it. So now qualification is this, and this. I mean, that day is going to come. We didn't think it was going to approach this rapidly when we decided we're going to do an all pro only event, but that day is going to come, and it's probably going to come soon. It may be next year. And you're right. You strike when the qualification is. And just to tie into something that you said, Eric, and this is not about me. My day was over. You'll never see me in posing trunks again, unless you toss me in my casket when I die. But my greatest competitive event was at a show in 2006. It was when OCB was IFPA, and it was the Gaspari Pro Classic. And I entered it a little not in shape, knowing I had no chance of winning, but it was because it was the Gaspari Pro, and at the time it was the second biggest show other than the Yorton. But the number one reason is because this was the cast of characters that was in that. Doug Miller, Kareem Petaway, Rico was in it, the legend, two-time Yorton Cup champion, Dave Gooden, Powell was in it. You had Will Usher, who's an IFBB pro, Carl Matthews Jr., who won a PMBA, whatever, the Natural Mr. Olympia, other big show federation thingies. You had Earl Schneider. It was like a who's who. It was like one class of 15 people. And it was like everybody that you can Google right now and look and see was a mega name. And I think I placed 9th, and I was ecstatic. I placed 9th, but I entered it for one reason and one reason only, because I wanted to say, no matter how I looked, that I was on the big stage and I was there with the best of the best of the best. So when I talk about shows in my past, I'm not talking about shows I won. I usually talk about shows with a level of competition where the production value of the show, where the mystique of the show was so great that I was there, man. And it becomes meaningful in a nostalgic kind of way. Winning's great. You guys know you've won them. It's a big show. There are a lot of great titles in bodybuilding that are not in the OCB. There are a lot of great shows in bodybuilding that are not in the OCB. But there is a mystique in the Yorton Cup, and you never know. So come on down.
Well, you pretty much answered my last question because I was going to kind of allude to that. With so many other championship shows, you got what is it? The Natural Olympia, you got WMBF Worlds, you got whatever else is the universe. What separates the Yorton from all these other championship shows?
First, I always like to be very careful in how I answer that because sometimes there are so many promoters from other federations that I don't know, they hate us or they think that we're like trying to do something to harm them. We don't say squat about anybody. All we try to do is to make our events better and better and better, continuous process improvement. And we're only trying to benchmark it based on ourselves. Like all our promoters, what did we do last year? Like the presidential. What did we do last year? How'd that look? Let's make that better. Let's go a step here. Our promoter in Colorado, you were just at that pro show.
You don't get enough credit. I'm gonna
What
shout
she
out to
did last year,
Nicia. Tanisha is a bomb ass freaking promoter,
damn.
and she needs to be highlighted more, whatever the case may be, because Colorado is a gym.
But her improvement from last year to this year was light years. Why? She's not competing within a market. She's
Right.
competing against herself. So
Hmm.
that's why I say that, because I don't want to take anything I say away from any of these championship shows. I mean, they're all out there. Hey, other promoters for other federations, God love you. We're not your enemy. We ain't against you. We want you to succeed too. Stop yelling at us. We're just trying to make our shit better because we want us to improve and continuous process improve. So back to the question, what makes the Yorton Cup stand out? The culture that was created around it and the significance that the title has come to. What title in natural bodybuilding is named after the father of natural bodybuilding, the guy who started it all, the guy who turned around and drew a line in the sand and said, "Thou shalt not cross. Thou shalt not cross. No PEDs allowed. We're going to blood test because that's all they had back then. And we're going to promote a natural federation. And I don't care who you are, you 3-letter or 4-letter designator, come at me all you want. I am not crossing this line. My athletes are going to be over here, and we're going to make it as good for them as we possibly can." And he stuck to his convictions. Name me a title in any sport that's named after somebody that has stepped out on that limb and started that trend and made that happen. There isn't one. So in legacy of Chet and now in legacy of Matt, our responsibility as an ownership team is to make sure that the quality that surrounds that title maintains. That's our charge. That's our charge. That when Matt turned this baby over to the 4 of us, he basically said, "This is it. This is your baby. Your charge is to always keep it at this level, both as an organization and this title. And you cannot let the standard slide. You can't allow malfeasance, misfeasance. You can't backtrack. It's only got to be like this because Chet deserves it. Because he drew that line in the sand and he said, I ain't going to cross it. And because the athletes that stay natural deserve to have something that grandiose. So that's why we try to make it big because it deserves to be big. Because what Chet did was big. All those other federations that you mentioned, all those titles, would not be here for not that man. So we owe it to him to make this title the best title it could possibly be and invest every penny we can in it and to keep bringing the prize money up and to keep making it better and better and better because of his legacy and because of your legacy, because that legacy is also part of the 2 of you, because you are part of the Yorton Cup history. You are there. You are part of that. You are on the cup forever. And the other nice thing about our organization is if the beer truck hits me tomorrow, we got somebody else on the bench that's popping up and taking my place. If one of my teammates decides they want to cash out tomorrow, we have a bench of people that are ready, willing, and able to take their place.
Trust
In
me, we
50
know.
years, this title will still be here in 50 years or 100 years because the people we pick and the people we have on our bench are people that have the same values and the same morals and the same vision and the same passion and the same conviction that we do. So it ain't about us. It's about us. And that includes you all as champions.
So idea just popped in my head, and I don't know why, but you was talking about Chet and you was talking about Matt. Y'all should give out at the Yorton Cup. Listen to me now. At the
Okay.
Yorton Cup, you should give out a Matt Shepley Promoter Award to the best promoter of the year. I think that would be super dope. All the promoters would want to do a better job at promoting shows if they knew they was going to get that award. Boom.
I like it. You know, we'll talk. You're not going to talk offline. You come up with some of the parameters on that. I do love that idea. What people don't realize is that Matt used to do that. We used to have a banquet every year on the day before the Yorton Cup, where he had awards for best promoter, best athlete. You know, he had a lot of like these specialty awards, and you know, it kind of fell by the wayside over time because it wasn't as supported as much. And we were trying to find, you know, like what's the best way we could do that. But I do like the idea of at the Yorton Cup, you invite that marquee promoter in and you award him on stage. So you know, now you gave me something else to think about. Hey, listen, man, I got enough, dude. I got enough on my plate. My brain, the idea fairy flutters around my brain all the time. I'm constantly bugging my teammates. Hey, I got an idea. Oh crap! Sully's got another idea. How much is this going to cost? How is this going to work? But that one comes from you. I like that. I like that.
Gotcha.
We have a lot of good promoters, brother. You've seen them. We have, it's on them, man. We have great, innovative, caring promoters that are just pulling it out, man. I mean, you know, it's a pretty good day.
Gotcha. And with that, we're gonna wrap. This was a
top
absolute.
Five, bro. You can't let him get away without.
Do you have a top five? I don't have a top five. I couldn't think of one.
Okay, we'll do a top five, Sully, and this is just for you. We'll do it just for you. Name your top five natural athletes you would love to sit down and have a dinner with. It could be past or present.
Steve Reeves, Chet Yorton, Charles Booser, Mike McLeod, and Will Powell. I'm gonna
write those names down. I gotta do some research. I'm gonna write those names down.
Well, Will, you should know because I do about anything to have another dinner with Will.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, that was a great note to end it on, Jamal. I was trying to think of one, but then I was like, I didn't want him to name drop, so you had to. That was perfect. So
my favorite bodybuilder of all time, Charles Booser. Look him up.
Okay. Charles Booser.
And Mike McLeod was a very close second. Look up Mikey. Those two had some legendary battles. So.
Okay. So they can find you, of course, at SULCOP 96, right? There I go. My memory working today. And then we will see you guys at the OCB Yorton Cup. So make sure you follow that page as well. Don't meet us there, beat us there, because we all three will be there. Also, you can catch Sully on the Natural Edge. I think they air, what is it, right after us?
Before us. Y'all go at 6, correct? They go at 6.
Yep, Tuesday, 8 p.m. We drop at 8 p.m. now.
You know at 8. Okay, so they go after us.
It used to be 6, but that everybody's eating dinner. I figured now everybody's done eating dinner. No matter East Coast, West Coast, they can sit down and watch Edge.
Perfect. So they actually air, like you said, Tuesdays at 8. We air at Tuesday at 7. So get your double dose of bodybuilding podcasts or natural bodybuilding news. But until next time, y'all, we are out. Peace.